Donald Trump's leaked war plan scandal gets worse, and Donald Trump's cover-up blows up. We'll discuss. Democrats win big in Pennsylvania's special election this week. They flipped a plus 15 Trump district in Lancaster County and captured a state Senate seat that did not go blue since 1889. Also, Democrats officially reclaimed the Pennsylvania State House. Now Democrats eye the Wisconsin Supreme Court seat. That race has an election coming up on April 1st, and they've got some special elections in Florida for the House of Representatives. Also, the Trump regime's Greenland trip just got canceled. The Greenlanders stood up to the Trump regime. They prepared a massive protest after it was announced that Usha Vance, J.D. Vance's wife, and J.D. and National Security Advisor and Chief Leaker Mike Waltz were going to be showing up in Greenland. Not a single Greenlander would invite them to their homes when they were trying to stage a PR stunt. And so the Trump regime had to cancel the trip because they knew that they would be brutally humiliated. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney gave a powerful speech today after Trump imposed 25% across the board tariffs on automobiles across the world. Prime Minister Carney said essentially the United States is not a friend anymore. They're not a reliable partner. Canada has moved on. Canada is looking elsewhere. Consumer expectations are looking elsewhere as well here in the United States as they plummet. Trump's support is plummeting. Americans expect there's going to be a recession, a great recession, or even something worse on the horizon based on Donald Trump's reckless and disastrous policies. Donald Trump also had to pull the nomination of Elise Stefanik as the ambassador to the United Nations, fearing that the GOP would lose her congressional seat, a plus 21 or so Trump district, no longer safe in the world of Trump and Doge and Elon Musk's wrecking ball to Social Security, Medicaid, firing veterans. People are pissed. Elise Stefanik's appointment to be the ambassador pulled. She went ultra MAGA, and it backfired. Some might call that karma. Also, we're learning more about the identities of a lot of these migrants who were kidnapped in the United States by the Trump regime. We're actually finding out that a lot of these people were here lawfully, lawful asylum seekers who are now in concentration camps in El Salvador, as Donald Trump's Secretary of Homeland Security and dog killer Kristi Noem stood in front of said El Salvador concentration camp prison wearing a $60,000 Rolex and threatening others in the United States here lawfully that this will happen to you as well. We've got a lot to discuss here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. A lot there to unpack.
A lot to unpack, and we're going to unpack it all. Brett here with the MeidasTouch Podcast. Great to be here with the brothers. Great to be here with everybody listening, everybody watching. Thank you for subscribing on audio, on Spotify, on Apple, on all the things, rating it 5 stars. We appreciate it. Fear and loathing in Mar-a-Lago, fear and loathing in the Trump White House. That is the theme of the day, and that's what we are seeing. And we noted on the last episode this seismic shift that we were seeing on the ground. We have seen the town halls over these past few weeks, but there was certainly an energy shift, a seismic event that occurred over the past weekend when we saw these Bernie Sanders rallies, these AOC rallies. There has been a major, Donald Trump's administration has been put on the defense as a result of these war plan leaks, where now the cover-up is getting worse than the crime, as it often does. The Trump administration is trying to pull a full 1984 war on U.S. citizens. Remember that quote from 1984? The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. Well, that is exactly what they are trying to do right now here with these war plan texts saying, oh, they weren't war leaks. They weren't plans. We didn't have any times in it. It's like, bro, we actually see, we have the texts, okay? We see what happened. So at least take responsibility, say you're going to fix the problem and move on, but don't lie to my face and think and act like I am stupid. Your followers may want to believe that. Your followers may want to shovel in your lies and eat that all up as Fox shovels in their bullshit in people's faces, but not us, not here at the MeidasTouch Network. A lot to unpack, folks. Oh my gosh. Let's get into it. First, we got to check in with Jordy. Jordy, what's up? Love the sweatshirt, Jordy. Look at that.
Thanks, but yeah, store.meidastouch.com. Let's go. Excited for today's show. And Brett, you're exactly right. That's why last show when we talked about Hegseth, like claiming that the text, it was a hoax. What is he even talking about? We have screenshots. Like, people have eyes. People are smart, Hegseth. Whether you want to believe it or not, people see right through your lies, the administration's lies, time and time again. They back themselves into a corner that, to your point exactly, Brett, the cover-up is seemingly becoming worse than what they did with Signal. This is really, really wild stuff. And real quick, before we toss it to Ben, Usha Vance right there. She put together such a nice little video for the folks over at Greenland. I'm shocked with all the high-quality production value, with all the time she took to make that video, that they rejected her, big bro. Why would they do such a thing?
Usha.
Look, Jordy, the Trump regime is taking their ball of MAGA orange feces. They're throwing it against the wall. They're seeing what sticks right now, and none of it is sticking. That's international community is grossed out. Americans are disgusted. And this Signal scandal, Signal Gate, as it's being called, it highlights the kakistocracy, the idiocracy, the fact that the Trump regime doesn't give a crap about our troops. They don't focus on any details. And it just highlights, whoa. So you've all been focused on firing veterans and engaging in a hostile takeover of the federal government and falsely defaming people and saying you're firing all these hardworking Americans for cause, saying they're doing a bad job. You're attacking people's Medicaid and getting rid of Social Security Administration offices. And meanwhile, y'all are having chats about war plans on text message group chats called the Houthi PC small group. And then you invited a reporter named Jeffrey Goldberg, who you also claim that you hate, which makes it even worse, in my opinion, that then you invite the person that you hate onto the group chat. He's the editor.
They're like, he's the most untrustworthy guy on the planet. He's the scum of the earth. No one should ever talk to him ever. And we added him into our group chat while we were planning war plans. It's like,
can I just say this real quick too? Who's the PC small group? That insinuates also that there's a larger group text chain. That, you know what I'm saying here?
This was supposed to be just principles, Jordy. So this was supposed to be the top brass discussing this, and these are not things top brass are supposed to be discussing over Signal chat.
I'll tell you what insinuates that they do this all the time. That it's not unique to the Houthi PC small group. That they probably conduct all classified business using Signal chats like this. And just think about it. You're Jeffrey Goldberg, like you're just hanging out one day and you're like, what am I invited to? And then as you're just like looking at these messages, you're like, this is odd. And then it's like, just so we all can see it, pull up Houthi PC small group so everybody can see what Jeffrey Goldberg saw when it says Houthi PC small group, right? Then it says Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, Mike Waltz, added you to the group. So this isn't exactly a massive Scooby-Doo mystery here of how was he added. Mike Waltz added you to the group. That's how he got added, everybody. And then
on Fox, Mike Waltz goes, I don't know how it happened, but you know this technology. Sometimes people just get sucked in. That was his excuse. They just get sucked on in, right? Like maybe, and then you had Trump in the Oval Office being like, yeah, we need to investigate these platforms. We need to investigate Signal to see how this could have happened. No, actually, no, we don't need to investigate anything. The evidence of the crime is right here. Sorry.
Mike Waltz goes, team establishing a principals group for coordination on Houthis, particularly for over the next 72 hours. My deputy, Alex Wong, is pulling together a tiger team at deputies, agency, chief of staff level, following up from the meeting.
Principles is spelled incorrectly also.
Imagine you're Jeffrey Goldberg, you're the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. You're like, this is interesting. And then you get this message from Pete Hegseth, team update. Time now, 11:44 Eastern Time. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch. 12:15 Eastern Time. F-18s launch. First strike package. 13:45. Trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist at his known location, so should be on time. Also, strike drones launch. MQ-9s. 14:10. More F-18s launch. Second strike package. 14:15. Strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop, pending earlier trigger-based targets. 15:36 F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launch. So you're Jeffrey Goldberg. You get put onto this chat. Then you report about it. And the instinct first from the Trump regime is to say that you're a hoaxer and a liar. And then, like petulant third graders, and no offense to petulant third graders, the Trump regime then goes, he's a sleaze. He's a sleaze bag. This is a scum. This is a scumbag sleaze bag. First off, who uses that type of language other than, like, again, petulant third graders? No, if it's sleaze bag, scumbag. What was sleazy and scummy about the fact that y'all added this guy to your war plans chat? And he's the editor-in-chief from The Atlantic, who you most likely have been a source for, which is why he's in your number to begin
150%. And by the way, I think this is the real reason why Mike Waltz is actually scared about this story and why he feels like, should I resign? Maybe I should. He's decided not to for now, at least. But I think it's very clear, especially, and we'll get into this Venmo story, but basically Mike Waltz's Venmo was public as well. All these people just have public
passwords, their Venmo.
Their passwords were all over the internet. And Mike Waltz's Venmo account had all of his friends, which experts say, like, this is information that is easily exploited by foreign governments like Russia. They had all of it laid out, all of his contacts, and many of his contacts, dozens, if not hundreds, were journalists in his phone. Journalists who Donald Trump trashes and calls fake news all the time. And there was a quote in the Jeffrey Goldberg Atlantic story that I found very revealing, where he said when he received a message from Mike Waltz, it didn't seem like it was anything out of the ordinary. I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along those lines. To me, that says, yes, Mike Waltz is a source and he is leaking like a sieve. Mikey the Mole, baby, in the White House. And Donald Trump does not like people who leak to the press. He's the only person who's allowed to leak to the press, whether it's, whoever the reporter is. But the fact that Waltz clearly seems like a leaker in the White House, I think that's going to make Donald Trump very uneasy. It's going to make this relationship very tense, whether Waltz stays or not.
Donald Trump held a disastrous presser yesterday in the Oval Office where he was announcing the 25% tariffs on automobiles from everywhere in the world, which will tank the automobile industry, make automobiles basically unaffordable. Automobiles will at least cost $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 more, which basically means people are not going to be buying automobiles. But at that press conference, Donald Trump was asked a bunch of other questions. And so one of the tragic things we learned in the past 48 hours was that 4 American soldiers died tragically in Lithuania. They died overseas. This is something that you would expect the Secretary of Defense, National Security Advisor, Director of National Intelligence to brief the president on. And you would expect a statement to be made by the president immediately, letting the people of the United States know about what happened, sending a heartfelt message to the family and to our troops who are certainly going to be struggling as a result of this horrific event. Trump is asked about the 4 soldiers who died in Lithuania, and he didn't know anything about it, had no clue what the reporter was even talking about. Let's watch this clip.
But it could be a defective platform, and we're going to have to find that out.
Mr. President, have you been briefed about soldiers in Lithuania?
Say it.
Have you been briefed about the soldiers in Lithuania who are missing?
No, I haven't.
So by the time he said that, the public knew about it. Trump didn't know about it. Trump never put out a statement about it. As of this video, as of this live, he did not put out a statement on it. He didn't put out a statement. Wouldn't you, let's just assume you found out right there, right? Wouldn't you go and say, what happened? And then as the president of the United States put out a statement, 4 American soldiers died. You're not going to say anything about it. And one of the reasons he doesn't want to say anything about it is because he doesn't give a crap about it. And he wants to cover it up. He wants to ignore it. He sees it as, oh, that's going to just be somehow used against me. So I'm going to cover it up like a miracle. It will all go away. If you don't test, you don't find out what the outcome is. If I don't address it, I'll pretend it didn't really happen. And people will just move on to the next story. And that's what he's trying to do. 4 American soldiers died, and the commander-in-chief, one, isn't briefed on it. Meanwhile, what has he been posting over the past 24 to 48 hours? He's been attacking District Court Judge Boasberg in Washington, D.C., who issued the injunction blocking him from further kidnapping migrants and sending them to concentration camps. He's made posts threatening Europe and Canada, saying if Europe and Canada joins together, I'm going to hit you hard. So he's talking about that, Brett and Jordy and Meidas Mighty, not mentioning once anything about these soldiers who died. He's also posting April 2nd, all caps like a maniac at 2 a.m. Liberation Day is coming. Liberation Day, April 2nd. And he calls it Liberation Day because that's when he's going to impose more tariffs. So he's doing all of that and not acknowledging the death of American soldiers. Horrific.
It's atrocious. This is one of those things too, where, if something like this were to happen under President Biden, this would have been nonstop MAGA Twitter, Fox News. They would have made this into like Benghazi X 1000, right? This would have been their biggest story. They would have never stopped talking about it. And by the way, President Biden in this hypothetical scenario would have had a very thoughtful response. He would have acknowledged the missing soldiers who are presumed to be dead at this point. He would have known about it. He would have been briefed on it. But this is one of the problems when you have a narcissist in chief as well, and pathetic people around him who are just sycophants, because none of them actually want to break the news to him. None of them even want to tell him bad news, because like I started off with the 1984 quote on this episode, they need to live in this 1984 world where truth isn't truth. And so they cannot let the truth go out to Donald Trump. They cannot let them know of a U.S. military failure. They cannot let him know any bad news that hurts Donald Trump. And that would be sad. So now there's more news that this is this is causing more tension in the relationship between Donald Trump and Mike Waltz, because Donald Trump did not know about this. So on top of the war leaks where Mike Waltz had a reporter in the chat where it appears that Mike Waltz may be one of the biggest leakers of the Trump White House. On top of that, Donald Trump also discovers that there's this news story out there that he has not heard about until now. And even now, after hearing about it, no statement, no comment about the families, no comment about the soldiers, no comment about what they were doing, if they were doing training, if they were on a mission, what the heck is going on. Nobody knows, because right now we have a commander-in-chief who is just a liar, who does not want to acknowledge anything bad and just wants to wreak havoc on the American public and torture the American public. And that's what we are seeing.
And this is becoming an ongoing theme, Brett. So Trump seems to not know a lot. When the war plan leaks, when he was first asked about that, he said he didn't know. He wasn't briefed on it. He had no idea. And the missing American troops, same thing. This seems to be a crutch of his, whether done intentionally or not. He seems to not know a lot for the leader of the free world. And it's a scary thing when you think about it, because people aren't holding his feet to the fire enough around this. Had this been Biden and back-to-back days, you don't know, you aren't briefed on these incredibly high-level situations, you know the conspiracies that would be flying around right-wing Twitter or even quote-unquote mainstream Twitter would be, oh, well, he's not really the president in charge. Someone else is leading everything. It's a scary thing when the leader of the free world cannot even lead, whether he doesn't care to or his people are too scared to give him the information.
And beyond policy, Jordy, this is the thing that's always bothered me the most about MAGA, that in order to support Donald Trump, you need to be willing to put all facts and reality aside and to just accept whatever Donald Trump says. You have to be all in on the cult. And I don't know how, if you view yourself, ironically, these people go, I'm an independent thinker. I think for myself. I don't listen to the mainstream media. I don't listen to them. I'm an independent thinker. You're all saying the same shit all the time. So I think you're actually just parroting whatever Donald Trump says, but okay. But in order to support this movement, you have to just accept bullshit. And it's almost like I feel embarrassed for you. Like I have secondhand embarrassment that you are trying to pretend like the war plans that we are seeing, that were very detailed when you read them, Ben, that those war plans are not war plans. Like you're that's going to be your line. Really, that's what you're going to tell me. You're going to just tell me all these blatant lies. By the way, you're the one who are falling for it. You are the mark. You're being lied to. Like you should be embarrassed that they think you are so stupid. Honestly, like you should be offended. You should watch Fox News, and we'll play, probably in a little bit, Jesse Waters on Fox talking about this stuff. You should be embarrassed that this guy thinks so low of you, that he thinks you are such an idiot, that he thinks that he could get away with lying to your face.
Going back to that disastrous press conference in the Oval Office, Jordy, to your point of Donald Trump saying, I don't know. A reporter asked Donald Trump, do you still believe nothing classified was shared? Let's watch what he says.
But I don't think they're quite. I don't think they're quite
Nothing
ready.
classified that was shared?
Say
Do
it.
you still believe nothing classified was shared?
Well, that's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the various people involved. I really don't know.
You have to ask the various people. I really don't know. You're the freaking commander in chief. And Brett, to your point, that's an unforgivable answer. You're literally the commander in chief. You're supposed to answer that question. I know for Donald Trump, it's about hosting pink Birkin bag, alligator skin parties at Mar-a-Lago and golfing and attacking judges. But quite literally, this is your freaking job. And if you're not capable of doing it, step aside, you idiot. Then Donald Trump is asked about Signalgate again, and he goes, Hegseth doing a great job. Why would you say he's doing a bad job? Here, play this clip.
Should Secretary Hegseth consider his position over the signal?
Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this. Hegseth. How do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do. Look, it's all a witch hunt. Here we are talking about some of the greatest business deals ever made. The greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you. And I think that's what we have to, because you use Signal and we use Signal and everybody uses Signal, but it could be a defective platform, and we're going to have to find that out.
It could be a defective platform. Why are you asking about Hegseth? Pull up the text thread where Hegseth does the war plans on it, just so people can see. Houthi PC small group, Hegseth, text messaging, classified war plans. And then you've got Hegseth giving these bizarre press conferences in Honolulu, Hawaii, where he does this weird thing with his tongue on the side of his mouth and licking everywhere, and he's angry, and he's making what are you talking about? I'm watching this. I'm like, this is exactly the type of person who my dad told me to avoid if I ever saw out at a bar or at a restaurant. Walk away from that individual. That's what it visually looks like. I mean, he's like rabid. I'm like, it's like rabies. It's like looking at
it's like belligerent drunk at a dive bar when you're there a little too late. And you're
I guess that's like a rabid animal that you find out I mean, watch this guy ask the most basic questions. Here, no one's texting war plans. We don't know what we're talking about. Here, watch this. Play it.
This is what we're here to do. Nobody's texting war plans. Well, I noticed this morning out came something that doesn't look like war plans. And as a matter of fact, they even changed the title to attack plans because they know it's not war plans. There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information. You know who sees war plans? I see them every single day. I looked at them this morning. I looked at attack plans this morning. You know who
like terrifying to see this guy. I have a lot more to discuss about him. I think my impression was pretty spot on.
I think it was pretty spot on. I'll say this one thing. In a world where there are so many stories, there's so much news, right? That we try to break down every single week, right? A lot comes and goes, right? There are a lot of crazy stories that come and next 2 days pass and all of a sudden you're like, that feels like weeks ago. Then there are certain stories that I think I would refer to as like sticky stories, the stories that don't go away, the stories that really do some damage. Those are the stories that exist in all administrations, right? The Biden debate, that was a Biden sticky story. That was something that did not go away. Right now, we have one of the first, if not the first, sticky stories of the Trump administration. And it is this controversy, not only of the war plan leaks, but of the cover-up, which is still ongoing and is just so obvious and so atrocious that a lot of people, even people who are inclined to support Trump and MAGA, are going, don't bullshit a bullshitter, man. This is not normal. Like, this is weird behavior. So let's just keep an eye on this and everything that's going on. It's an interesting situation.
It ties everything together, as I mentioned before. That's also why it's sticking. It's beyond the leaking of the war plans. It's clear that this is what they do all the time. And it's this cavalier and just dumb way of running things that have destroyed the lives of so many people. And again, it's just such on display here, but it highlights all those other aspects that we've seen. And that to me is one of the reasons that it's sticking. It summarizes what we've experienced in these past 2 months, or more at this point. I want to remind everybody about patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We don't have outside investors, so it's one of the ways you can help grow our platform. Also, MeidasPlus.com, MeidasPlus.com. That's where our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, cooks. He gives the best daily summary that there is. In case we miss anything, Ron Filipkowski's got it all covered. And then I want to remind everybody to subscribe on our audio podcast. If you are just watching on YouTube, our audio listeners, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And everybody, please, 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 if you can, give a 5-star review. Of course, if you think we've earned it, only if you think we've earned it on the audio podcast, because some of those Joe Rogan fans are a bit pissed off that we now get double the monthly downloads as Rogan, and they want to leave some negative reviews. So if you can help us with positive reviews, again, only if you have a positive review. 5 stars are welcome. Let's take our first quick break of the show. We've got a lot to discuss, like Democrats winning big in Pennsylvania, special elections coming up, Canada standing up, Greenland standing up, Elise Stefanik. Not a good day for her, not a good day for MAGA. We'll be right back.
Let's talk about jeans. Those stiff, uncomfortable leg prisons that cost a fortune, squeeze all the wrong places, and make bending over a high-stakes operation. Yeah, I used to hate jeans too. Then I tried the perfect jean, and let me tell you, I have seen the light. I'm talking about jeans that stretch, jeans that move, jeans that don't crush your delicate assets. No more saggy diaper butt, no more stiff, unforgiving denim. These bad boys are soft as a baby's bottom. I mean, who knew jeans could actually be this comfortable? I can bend, stretch, run errands, break out dance moves I have no business attempting, and yeah, I look damn good doing it as well. And here's the best part. These don't cost $200, $150, or even $100. The perfect jean is just $79.99, and honestly, worth every penny. The fit is spot on. They've got sizes for everyone, and they actually make me want to wear jeans again. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc, or Google The Perfect Jean and use code MeidasTouch15 for 15% off. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code MeidasTouch15, MEIDAS15. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the perfect jean. Okay, you ever sign up for a free trial, forget about it, and then realize you've been charged for months? Yeah, me too. And I just found out that 85% of people have at least one paid subscription that they're not even using. That's why Rocket Money has been a game changer for me, and I know it will be for you as well. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I saw all my subscriptions in one place, and Rocket Money made it easy to cancel the ones I didn't need anymore. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts. So you could create a personalized budget, get alerts if your bills go up or if you're close to going over budget, and even use their new goals feature to automatically save for what matters, whether it's paying off debt or building your savings. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you. They handle customer service so you don't have to. Honestly, that's the part that always stresses me out the most. So I love that Rocket Money handles all that. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch today. That's rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. MEIDASTOUCH.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both YouTube and audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. It helps. Love the perfect gene. Love me some Rocket Money. Definitely check it out if you're into that stuff. Benji, where to next?
The Trump regime is the only government in the entire world where something like this would happen and nobody would get fired right away or perhaps ever, right? Obviously, if it came to our allies, they would fire whoever was involved right away, right? I mean, this is the biggest breach ever. I mean, in my opinion, this is a clear-cut criminal violation of the Espionage Act, which should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I mean, essentially everybody on that chat in normal times would be looking at about 20 years in prison, those who created the chat, that is, the Department of Defense officials, Mike Walls and others. And in my opinion, there would at least be an investigation into that. Well, now, we know that the Department of Justice, who's not releasing the Epstein files apparently ever, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was the Attorney General, by the way, when Epstein was in Florida. There may be a reason why she's not releasing those Epstein files. And by the way, and I'm not going to let go of that one. I'm just going to bring it up every time I bring up Pam Bondi. But she and Kash Patel said no investigations will be taking place. They've said they're not even going to look into it. They think that actually everything that happened was perfect. It was the perfect text message, they say. They will not be looking into it. Now, if this happened to our allies, there'd be criminal investigations right away and obviously terminations of whoever was involved right away. Regarding our enemies, how do you think Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin would have dealt with someone who leaked war secrets on Signal chats? By the way, the Trump regime, the kakistocracy, combines idiocracy and dangerousness in one, and then the cover-up makes it even worse, makes the situation horrible as they double and triple down. As you saw before, Donald Trump was like, what Hexit do? Hexit's great. Why are you dragging this guy into it? I don't know, maybe because he was the guy who wrote a lot of the messages, with the war plans, which is, in my opinion, very problematic, and lots of legal people would say that that could be criminal by doing that in that format because that information, war plans, attack plans, it's probably even more classified than war plans because it was operational and in the moment. But look, the Trump regime has its idiotic state regime media, Fox, people like Jesse Waters and Laura Ingraham and others, and they basically say, no one cares about this story. It doesn't involve sex. It doesn't involve fraud. This is a DC story. None of you should care about it, viewers. Here's Jesse Waters saying no one outside of DC cares about it. Let's play that.
Well, this is like Trump throws 20 touchdowns in a row and he finally throws a pick six. And that's what everybody wants to talk about. And the only way you get people to stop talking about it is you throw another touchdown. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like, but he's got to throw another touchdown, and he's got to throw it fast. No one outside of D.C. and in the news business really cares about this story. There's no video. There's no sex. There's no fraud. No one even knows what a Houthi is. People know who bin Laden is. People know what ISIS is. No one knows what a Houthi is.
By the way, the chyron for our audio listeners is White House goes from defense to offense on group texts. And then he goes, oh, Trump just has to throw another touchdown. What were the touchdowns that were thrown so far? That people have lost a lot of their life savings, their 401ks are in the gutter, that we're headed towards a great recession. Was that the touchdown? Or were the touchdowns when the veterans were fired, when there was a hostile takeover of our federal government, when Medicaid was gutted, when Social Security Administration offices were shut down, when Trump did an executive order to eliminate the Department of Education? Were those the touchdowns? Was that the celebratory Super Bowl moment for Donald Trump? Or was it when he went to the Super Bowl, or when he drove around the racetrack at a NASCAR race while there were devastating weather events that were killing dozens of Americans? Because I seem to not be understanding what the touchdowns are. And Jesse, yes, we the people, the American people, care about these things. We care that our war plans and classified information is being leaked. We care that Vladimir Putin and our enemies want to take over Europe and they want to destroy the United States of America, while Donald Trump and this stupid Trump regime is out there saying, oh, I don't know what's going on. Then you have Laura Ingraham. She goes on her show and notice what they try to do here. What they try to do is let their audience know, based on their fake experience as longtime news reporters, that this is actually normal behavior. So what they try to do is, one, they lie and say they're a news organization. But number two, they say, we've been on the Hill for a long time. This is one of those BS stories that none of you should care about. And why are they doing this? They're trying to continue to brainwash their audience who trusts them, who actually believes this shit is news, and they want to keep their people angry and pissed at leftists and trans issues and all of these things, while Donald Trump is engaged in this horror show. Here, watch what Laura Ingraham says. Let's play this clip.
You know, I was thinking about this. I've been in Washington a long time. This is all a sad repeat of what Republicans have been dealing with since around 1987. Yeah, I worked in the Reagan administration in 1987. From the Bork hearings to Iran-Contra to the Russian collusion to the myriad anti-Trump hoaxes, Charlottesville, January 6th. It's one long slash and burn campaign. Democrats didn't really care about any of the underlying issues involving any of those stories. They cared about gaining a political advantage.
I've been around since
those were all major scandals. She's saying Iran-Contra wasn't a big deal.
Iran-Contra, January 6th.
Nixon, I mean, come on. What are you going to do, you know?
But the thing is, this is a $1 billion brainwash operation. And Jay, you've said it before that to some extent you don't feel bad, but to some extent you feel a little bad sometimes for people whose mind is polluted with this stuff, because this is surgical what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is not arbitrary. She's not just throwing out random words or they're deciding. No. They huddle in a room and they go,
Oh no, I think we lost Ben for a second. See, we got to improve Ben's internet over here. I think.
What a screenshot!
It's a good screenshot though for all the listeners. We got Ben in a great screenshot. But what Ben is saying is that they huddle in a room and they plan this stuff out. They're not just shooting from the hip. They are actually trying to say, how can we manipulate our viewers? And we see it as we look in the past, as we look to the court filings that were submitted during all the various lawsuits against Fox for the election interference scheme by Donald Trump and them lying about Dominion and Smartmatic and all those companies. We've seen their text. We've seen how they operate, and they do go into these rooms and they try to plan, how are we going to fool our own viewers? That's why, to me, it is just so atrocious. It's just abhorrent behavior for a network. But that's why I do agree with Ben that I do feel bad almost for these people to an extent that they are so fooled by all of this crap. It's like, that's why I was saying earlier, like I'm embarrassed for you, right? Like if people were lying to my face like this and your whole thing was I'm owning the libs, so I'm happy. Like I would feel horrible about, like, how do you not feel bad about yourself? How do you not understand that you were the mark? When you're on Twitter and you have Elon Musk or X or whatever, when he's just shoving propaganda down your throat and he's like, trust me, I'm a billionaire. I know what's best for your life and for your social security and your grandmother and your savings. How are you not just like, oh, I'm being manipulated here. I am the mark. That is exactly what is happening. Ben, it's nice to have you back. I'll let you pick up from where you left off.
You know, let me show you what Tulsi Gabbard was saying at some of these hearings that were taking place this past week. Here she tries to argue with Senator Warner at the Senate hearing that the information was actually not classified. It's not classified information. Here's what she says. Let's play it.
Contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a skiff?
There was no classified material that was shared in that.
So then if there was no classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the.
All right, so Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, who everybody warned about could be a Russian asset who spreads Russian propaganda. You're saying this is not classified information? Okay, well then we have a simple question for you. Are you TG? Are you Tulsi Gabbard listed on the chat? Was that you who was on there? If it's not classified, you'll share it with us, right? Play the clip.
Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not. Are you denying? Matt, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat.
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat.
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security Council.
Because it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
As the White House previously
stated, is it classified or non-classified information on this text?
I can confirm.
Director Radcliffe, were you on the group chat?
Then a hearing was held in the House Intelligence Committee, where the ranking member, who I had a great interview with earlier today, Jim Himes, Democratic Congress member Jim Himes. Well, I hope when Democrats take control of the House, which I think they will, it's going to be great to see Democratic Congress member Himes lead the intelligence community. He's someone so needed right now. So he asks her, we've been watching you repost a lot of Russian propaganda lately, a lot of RT Russian TV stuff. Can you stop doing that? Like, why are you doing that? I want you to watch what she says. Let's play it.
You, on March 15th, as DNI, retweeted a post from Ian Miles Chong, who is listed on RT, that's Russia Today's website, as, quote, a political and cultural commentator who has contributed content to RT since at least 2022. Director Gabbard, do you think that it's responsible for you as head of the intelligence community and the principal presidential intelligence advisor to retweet posts from individuals affiliated with Russian state media?
That retweet came from my personal account, and I would have to go back to look at the substance of the tweet.
Can I, just so that we don't have a lack of confusion amongst our allies and enemies and us, can I act perhaps that you not think that you should be saying one thing on your personal account than you say officially?
I maintain my First Amendment rights to be able to express my own personal views on different issues.
Thank you. I yield back.
I maintain my First Amendment rights to be able to express my views by reposting Russian propaganda. That is the Director of National Intelligence. And again, I say, if you have intelligence, She should not be labeled anything that has the word intelligence next to it. And if you have intelligence, I don't care what political party you're from or if you're not political at all. Did you just hear what I just played for you? Like, are you listening to these things? Are you hearing these things? I don't know how you can walk away and be like, she's got a good point there. I see what she's trying to say. You should be pissed. And here she is being asked by Democratic Congressmember Crow, hey, weren't you traveling as well when you were on this text thread? And we already know from other intelligence reports that foreign countries have hacked into Signal. So we want to where were you, right? Which country were you in? Let's see what she says. Play the clip.
At the time, Mr. Witkoff was actually in Russia during this chat discussion, was he not?
I was not aware of that.
Was he on his personal phone at the time?
I don't know.
Well, it's my understanding that he was indeed in Russia. Director Gabbard, you were also traveling during this discussion, correct?
Yes.
And where were you?
I was traveling through the Asia-Pacific region. I don't recall which country I was in at that time.
You don't remember the country?
I'd have to go back and look at the schedule.
Don't remember the country that she was in. And look, I think if there's hope to be taken from all of this, it's again what we reported on before, the protests, the rallies, the results, right? We saw what happened in the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area, which had not gone blue in the state Senate there since 1889. A Democratic state Senate candidate who was running against Elon Musk and Doge won big, beat the MAGA Republican candidate in a plus 15 area there. Nobody expected this guy, James Malone, to beat John Parsons. John Parsons was a rising star in the Republican Party. Also, the Democrats in Pennsylvania took back the House. It was a 101-101 deadlock after a Democrat tragically passed away in the House. Democrats control the House again in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We're seeing that. We're seeing a very tight race in a plus 30 Trump district in Florida right now, in Florida's 6th congressional district. Those special elections are getting close. And that is why, and I'm going to talk more about this when we get back, Elise Stefanik, who was Donald Trump's pick to be the ambassador to the United Nations in a plus 21 Trump district in New York. Her nomination was pulled, and Donald Trump published a statement, and he said it's because we're afraid we're going to lose this seat and that we need to keep the House. That seat likely would have flipped and turned blue. And if you added that with Florida, Democrats already could have possibly taken control of the House. That's how people are feeling right now. That's the sentiment on the streets, not just here in America, but in Canada as well, in Greenland, in Europe. We're going to talk about all of that as well. Want to remind everybody, patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We don't have outside investors, so if you want to help us grow, join our Patreon. And also MeidasPlus.com, where our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, gets to work. I want to talk about what's happening in Canada. I want to talk about what's happening in Greenland. I want to talk about what we're finding out about some of these migrants who were kidnapped and put in concentration camps. Let's talk about that. Let's take our last quick break of the show.
You guys, it's possibly my favorite time of the week when I get to talk to you about coffee. My days don't start till I drink my coffee, and I'm not talking about just any coffee. You know I don't mess with just any coffee. I'm talking about freshly roasted specialty coffee delivered right to my door thanks to Trade. Trade is the #1 U.S. specialty coffee marketplace, working with over 50 of the country's top roasters to bring you fresh, incredible coffee at grocery store prices. I took their quick coffee quiz, and they matched me with the greatest bag of coffee from Colombia from a roaster named Clatch Coffee. I could smell it before I even opened the bag. bag. The flavor is incredible. Fruity notes, even a hint of vanilla, I'd say. So good. And if you're picky about coffee, Trade makes sure that you get it right. If your first bag isn't perfect, they will replace it for free. Every bag is roasted to order, so you'll taste the difference in every sip. And right now, Trade is offering our listeners 40% off your first order. Just go to drinktrade.com/Meidas. That's drinktrade.com/MEIDAS for 40% off your first order. Start your morning right with Trade.
Anywhere worth going is worth going in good boots. Find your perfect pair with Tecovas. Ever wondered if you can pull off boots with your personal style? Well, you owe it to your feet to pull on a pair of Tecovas. Being confident isn't about being different. It's about being yourself. Find comfort in the traditions of the West and confidence for making it your own. Honor the West by leaving your own boot print. Tecovas crafts quality Western boots for everyone, from generational ranchers and lifelong cowboys to first-time boot buyers. Every one of Tecovas' boots are handcrafted with over 200 meticulous steps for broken-in comfort right out of the box. Whether it's a long day or a big night, your Tecovas are built to last and impress. There's no compromise between quality and style. Look, I can't even begin to tell you just how comfortable my Tecovas are. And I'll admit it, I was a little skeptical at first, but these Tecovas are something special. Plus, with Tecovas Best in the West guarantee, you get free returns and exchanges for 30 days. Right now, get 10% off at tecovas.com/Meidas when you sign up for email and text. That's 10% off at tecovas.com/Meidas. Tecovas.com/Meidas. See site for details. Tecovas, point your toes west. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors, Trade. Shout out to Tecovas. Y'all didn't know I was about that cowboy boot life. Y'all didn't? You guys were sleeping on the cowboy boots. Look at
those
that.
are fresh. Jordy's pulling out the cowboy boots for the audio listeners.
They are pretty fresh.
Those are really fresh, actually.
Definitely check them out. I'm stoked Tecovas is a sponsor. And you know what? Our whole production crew, Salty, the whole gang, they're super pumped. So check them out. Click the links in the description of the audio and the YouTube. Use the codes. Let them know we sent you. Helps us, and they're great stuff. Benji, where to next?
The Trump regime was going to try to do a show of force in Greenland to intimidate the Greenlanders. They were sending J.D. Vance's wife, Usha Vance. Then J.D. Vance said that he was going to be joining his wife, Usha. Then Mike Waltz, the leaker in chief, the leaker himself, Mr. Leaky. Mike Waltz was going to go to
Mikey the Mole.
Mr. Leaky. They had their advance team knock on doors of the Greenlanders because they were just trying to stage one of their propaganda stunts. Apparently, they couldn't find a single family in Greenland that wanted them to be in their house. And then the Greenlanders were having this huge protest that they were gearing up for, and it was going to be absolutely historic. And as a result, the Trump regime got scared. And this is one of the things that we've seen with them before. If you stand up to these idiots, they get scared. And they pulled out and they withdrew their trip. So a big hat tip right there to the Greenlanders for doing that. By the way, I'll share with you this poll that Rasmus Jarlov, a conservative member of parliament for Denmark, Greenland's a territory in the Kingdom of Denmark. He published a poll that says, do you want to leave Denmark to become part of the USA? 85% of Greenlanders, and this is from a reputable polling group in Denmark and Greenland, 85% say no. Only 6% said that, yes, they want to be part of the U.S. This is a wildly unpopular thing that the Trump regime is pushing, and we've seen the people of Greenland unite against the Trump regime. I got to give a hat tip to the Maple Meidas out there, all of our Canadian supporters. The MeidasTouch Podcast is a #1 podcast in Canada. Elbows up to all of our Canadian supporters, because I think they've really showed the way, right? Trump's first line of attack was Canada annexing it, taking it over, and Canada did not bend. Canada did not break. Canada united. They strongly and powerfully stood up. their boycott of American tourism. Now I'm seeing numbers like what I predicted, 75 to 80% of tourism stopping from Canada to the United States. I mean, those are massive numbers. We're talking about tens and tens of billions of dollars that's going to cost the United States, because this was the most prolific and important alliance and travel relationship, ever. We're seeing some places that are saying cancellations from Canadians in the 90% range. In Canada, their boycott all thing American products is also surging right there. If you go into a convenience shop or a grocery place in Canada, you'll see the American stuff on the shelves not being sold at all, and the Canadian stuff going off the shelves quickly as Canadians want to just buy Canada. So you're seeing all of that there as well. I'll share with you this as well, a powerful speech that was given by Prime Minister Carney, and his Liberal Party is surging ahead in the polls in this snap election that he just called last weekend, scheduled for April 28th. If you looked at this a month or a few months ago, the Conservative Party run by Pierre Poilievre was in the lead, but Pierre Poilievre was Maple MAGA, sucked up to Donald Trump, actually sent special emissaries via the Alberta Premier, Danielle Smith, into the United States to try to interfere in the Canadian elections with Donald Trump. J.D. Vance's roommate is a member of Pierre Poilievre's inner circle and a member of parliament. So they had this whole scheme. Also, Elon Musk was boosting Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party there in Canada as part of the same plot that they did in the United States. And now Canadians are saying, whoa, 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 do not Dogeify Canada. We do not want the Doge wrecking ball. And Pierre Poilievre is the Doge MAGA candidate. So he's sinking. And here's a data point as well. The Conservative Premier from Ontario, Doug Ford, he's distancing himself from the Conservative Federal Party, the provincial party in Ontario, distancing itself from Poilievre at the federal level. Poilievre wanted to link arms with Doug Ford, and Doug Ford's like, don't come here, but I don't want, you're toxic, you're Doge, you're MAGA, get the hell away. So I thought that was an excellent data point. Here's Prime Minister Mark Carney from earlier in the day as well, saying the relationship we've had with the United States is basically done. We're done. Play this clip.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We can deal with this crisis best by building our strength right here at home. It will take hard work. It will take steady and focused determination from governments, from businesses, from labor, from Canadians. We will need to dramatically reduce our reliance on the United States. We will need to pivot our trade relationships elsewhere. And we will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations.
By the way, when he gives that speech, he does it in English and then he does it in French while standing up there. And that's what a leader sounds like. Like, that's a real leader, right? He's a banker versus Donald Trump, the bankrupter. And I mean, those are powerful words. I mean, could you ever even fathom in previous eras where that's being said? Just think about that. Think about that. And meanwhile, in Europe, you had this meeting earlier in the day in France called by President Emmanuel Macron of the Coalition of the Willing, standing up with Ukraine, President Zelensky of Ukraine was there as well. And they're uniting and saying, we're not going to let the United States and Putin bully Ukraine. We've got your back. If they're going to come after you, they're coming after Europe, Zelensky. A powerful statement. And this, as we learned, that Donald Trump's new proposed mineral deal to Ukraine is basically, we want to steal all of your minerals. Give us all of your minerals, no security guarantees. Give us your minerals. So, Brett, Jordy, no peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. Prices have not decreased on day one, as Donald Trump said. Housing is not more affordable, it's less affordable. Consumer expectations are now at basically all-time lows, all indicators of a great recession on the horizon. It's been an unmitigated disaster for Donald Trump, Brett, Jordy.
Yeah. And do the Democrats have a lot of work to do? Yes. But are the reports of the Democrats' demise a little early? Yes, as well. And I think here's the biggest way to gauge the true feelings of the Trump regime and the true feelings of the right-wing media ecosystem. So they could say all they want, right? They could spout all the BS they want, but look to their actions, look what they are doing, and it will tell a big story. When you see the pulling of Elise Stefanik in her district, where the fact that they are worried about her seat in a special election, which is what was it, Ben? Plus 20 something or to that effect?
Plus 21.
Plus 21 Trump district. When you see them pulling back on her nomination and admitting it is because of that. When you see them sputtering and being unable to explain the war leaks and telling people that what you're seeing is not actually what you're seeing, and you see Fox going, oh, you shouldn't really care about, no one really cares about this, right? I mean, Donald Trump, he'll get another touchdown soon and we'll all just forget about it. When you see the actions that they are all taking, it tells a very clear story to me, and that's that they are much weaker than they are leading on, that they are much weaker than the corporate media is leading on about them. And that just means we need to all double down our efforts and continue to make our voices heard. Because once they get trapped in these scenarios, it's like quicksand, right? They try to, and I think we're going to see this a lot with this administration, actually, right? They're going to try to dig themselves out, but the faster they go, the more they lie, the more they try to twist and confuse and try to throw all this crap out there that is so obvious, not maybe to the cultists, but to a majority of the American people, the more they are going to sink into that quicksand. And we are already seeing it. And that is just going to accelerate as they continue with this failing strategy. Love to see the world stepping up, elbows up Canada. Shout out to all of our Canadian listeners. Shout out to all the people over in Greenland. Hope we got some Greenland listeners as well. I love seeing everybody standing up for democracy, standing up for their sovereignty, and standing up against this Trump regime. It's a great sight.
Brett, I want to show this is panicked right now. Let's not forget that word too. They're simply panicked. The Stefanik move, it's a panicky move, what they're doing right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. And for better or for worse, the one, I hate to even say it like this, the one bright spot of where we stand now is we know the Donald Trump and the Trump regime playbook. Unfortunately, everyone knows it from his first term, and now we see it play out again. So I just think folks are way more energized and readily available to call out the BS. They've seen it before. The playbook, there's only so many times you can run that pick and roll before you adapt and change. And so what Donald Trump is doing is simply, it's exhausting. Don't get me wrong. But what I love to see is this community, this pro-democracy community coming together and just pushing back with truth, with facts, with data, with receipts, time and time again. And so I just wanted to say a special shout out to the Midas side here for
and think about what's coming up, Jordy, too. Big major protests on April 5th. Get ready for that. We'll be covering all the protests here at the MeidasTouch Network. Get ready for these special elections in Florida. And I got to tell you, because these are hard races. I'm not going to lie. These are hard races. And many were saying, even if Josh Wheel came within points, even if he came within 5 in that race against Randy Fine, sign in Florida, that would be a major warning sign for the Republican Party and for Donald Trump. And the latest poll we are seeing from Donald Trump's own pollster, is that Josh Weil now is actually leading in that race. So we will see what happens. It was great having him on the show. We're going to continue to highlight pro-democracy candidates like him on the show, like Judge Crawford on the show, making sure we use our platform to bring attention to the things and the people, the individuals, the ideas that matter most to you.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court race with the pro-democracy candidate, Judge Susan Crawford, versus the MAGA Doji Boy candidate, Brad Schiffel. That is April 1st. So make sure you tell everybody in Wisconsin so that they are aware of that race, because there's a lot on the line there, and the special elections in Florida, April 1st as well. You know, tying this whole episode together, as I said, the Signal Gate is symptomatic of the kakistocracy, idiocracy, dangerousness that pervades and prevails in this Trump regime. It also shows the emperor has no clothes, right? It shows how weak they are. All the bravado and bluster, these idiots are having war plan chats with stupid emojis on a text thread. They don't know what they're doing. They're dumb. As Donald Trump said, they're stupid people. Yeah, you're stupid people. That's who they are. And they do all of this propaganda. They have billion-dollar propaganda networks like Fox to pump this stuff up. And we've got to call it out. And I'll just share this with you too, because it's important that when they try to say, look, we got rid of these Venezuelan terrorists, the Tren de Aragua terrorists, we got rid of them. You should be grateful for all of us about what we're doing. Let me share with you what went down. Here is Kristi Noem right here, the Secretary of Homeland Security. Here she is. Let me play this clip for you right here. Let's play it. We got Kristi Noem. Let's play.
I also want everybody to know, if you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face. First of all, do not come to our country illegally. You will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use.
Were you able to hear me there at all? There was fighter jets that went over the house.
Oh God, that's what that was.
I was wondering what that was. I'm like, what's
fighter jets? Literally,
yeah, I was like, something's going on. I remember
there was a I think a Dodger game earlier, but the planes since the game have been, have been right around. But did the clip play? Did people hear?
Yeah.
I didn't even see the clip. Yeah, no. All of a sudden,
worry on your face.
Started
I got concerned.
House started shaking. Yeah. No, those were fighter jets over the house. But what I want to share with people, though, is that what we're learning about, and, hat tip to a lot of great journalists for breaking these stories as well, and the lawyers who are representing these migrants, is that a lot of these people who were taken to concentration camps in El Salvador were lawful asylum seekers who were put in concentration camps in El Salvador. So this was an article from Mother Jones. And as Mehdi Hassan writes, I, for one, will never forgive or forget the people who ordered this, nor the people who voted for this. And the Mother Jones story is the men disappeared to El Salvador because of their tattoos. And it highlights people like this. Neri Alvarado, working in Dallas as a baker. An ICE agent told him they were questioning all men with tattoos. Neri has an autism awareness tattoo in honor of his 15-year-old brother with autism. An ICE agent told Neri Alvarado, we're finding and questioning everyone who has tattoos, and that's why you're being arrested. Stunningly, after Neri explained his autism tattoo's meaning, the ICE agent said he was clean. He's also a lawful asylum seeker, and yet he stayed detained, and he was shipped to El Salvador, where he was sent to a concentration camp. Another man sent to the El Salvador concentration camp is Arturo Suarez, a Venezuelan musician who first entered the U.S. at a port of entry, not illegally, lawful asylum seeker, no criminal record at all here or in any country. He had tattoos. He went by the stage name Suarez Vizla. and he's been performing since 2019. Like many others, he left Venezuela when their country's economy collapsed, seeking better opportunities. He has a wife and a baby back home. His family recognized him in a picture of the detainees. And again, he was here lawfully. A third man identified by Mother Jones is Fitzgerald Cornejo, who also entered the country at a port of entry lawfully, not illegally. He owns a streetwear clothing line with his brother. Like the others, he has no criminal record here or elsewhere. And also like them, he has tattoos. We also highlighted the story of Andres. He's a gay hairstylist who fled Venezuela, where he was being persecuted. A Time magazine photojournalist actually saw what went down with this individual, and it talked about how he was basically being beaten, and he was calling for his mother. He said, "I'm a gay hairstylist. I have nothing to do. I'm not part of a gang. Why are you doing this to me?" He goes, "I'm not a gang member. I'm gay. I'm a barber." The photojournalist said, "I believed him," but then they basically threw him to the ground as he was sobbing and then threw him in a concentration camp. No phone calls, no visitors, never to be heard from again. And we also know about women who were sent to the concentration camp, where the concentration camp doesn't take women, so they had to be sent back or sent to other locations. And then the story of the professional football player, soccer player from Venezuela, who had the Real Madrid tattoo. And he was, again, lawfully not a gang member. He was called Tren de Aragua. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed Judge Boasberg's ruling in a 2-1 decision, keeping in place the injunction blocking the Trump regime from sending more people to concentration camps. But the Trump regime violated the initial order and had sent people to the concentration camps. And you're seeing, these stories. There's many more stories like it. And literally taking migrants here lawfully and sending them to concentration camps. It's something that we have to highlight, put a spotlight on here using our platform, and just call it out for just being absolutely wrong. And especially just to see the United States government making ISIS-style videos in El Salvador. And then you have Kristi Noem with her Rolex watch. I think we did some research, and it looks like the $60,000 Rolex watch that she was wearing. I think that sums up the Trump regime right here. Folks, keep up the momentum, keep the hope, though. And I think that the tide is turning. I feel it in the streets. I feel it internationally. I wish that this pain was not being inflicted on our country, but we are banding together in the pro-democracy community here and abroad. Brett, anything else you'd like to say?
Well, this is why it's so important that all of us collectively as a community here, all of the listeners, all the viewers, us here doing the shows, everybody at the MeidasTouch Network, it's why it's so important that we are never afraid to call out the lies. Always call out the lies, because the lies it's more than just a white lie about something. It's much bigger than that. It's much more pernicious than that. When you see them using these lies as predicate to whisk people out of this country, to abduct them, to send them out of this country to El Salvadoran prison camps based on nothing, by just saying, "You're a gang member. You're a gang member." No, I'm not. I don't care. I said you're a gang member, so you're going to this prison camp. You see these sick, dehumanizing videos with Kristi Noem. All she has her, what appears to be a $60,000 Rolex, standing in front of people who are in these cages, who, by the way, they throw on the ground, they shave their heads, they take off their shirts, they treat like animals. And I'm sure there are a lot of bad people in that group. I'm sure there are a lot of gang members in that group. Sure there are. But you know who else in that group? A whole lot of innocent people, because no one in that group was entitled to the due process that we are supposed to have. And if you consider yourself an American, I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're independent. I don't care if you're not political. This is not the way that America is supposed to work. Executives in this country are not supposed to have this sort of unilateral power for good reason, because this is the kind of stuff that happened in Nazi Germany. This is the kind of stuff that happens in Russia. They always find a predicate. They always find a lie in order to carry out their agenda, no matter how heinous and dehumanizing it is. I mean, we see even when you look at the Mahmoud Khalil situation, Colombia, when you see the Turkish student, the video of that student, the tough student, university student, who was whisked off the street in one of the most horrifying videos that I have seen, simply because this person who was here on a legal visa attended a pro-Palestine protest, so they took her off the street. You see this video, it looks like the Gestapo pulling somebody off the street, throwing them in a car. I mean, this is like the sickest stuff that we are seeing. And the Trump administration has decided that they can make up any lie, say whatever they want. They could just be like, yeah, you were anti-American. Yeah, you hate this country. Yeah, you do whatever they want to say. You're a gang member. They just make up whatever they want. And then they use that as enough reason to just chuck somebody in a van, arrest them, send them to a prison camp overseas. No, it's not okay. I will never accept it as okay. I will never both sides this either and say, oh, well, they got this point over here, and then this people are saying this thing. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of those two things. No, this is wrong. We're going to continue to call it out, say it's wrong. Shout out to all the journalists. Shout out to Mother Jones. Shout out to all the people who are uplifting these various stories and uncovering what is happening in these prisons and the true identities of these people who have been abducted by the United States government. We're going to continue to report on it all here, but I think everybody here should also be proud of the momentum shift, of the fact that this information is getting out there despite what this regime is doing. So shout out to you all. This has been a fun show. We covered a whole lot of stuff. Remember to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review if you can. I got to say, I told the story earlier on social media, but the Rogan folks and the MAGA folks, they got really upset by all the press that the MeidasTouch podcast got. They tried to review bomb us with all these 1-star reviews, but this community went in and gave a bunch of 5-star reviews, and our review actually, our rating actually increased on all the podcast apps after they tried this coordinated attack, and that's thanks to you. So let's keep the energy going. Apple Podcast, Spotify. Thanks to everyone listening. Thanks for sharing this with a friend. Just thanks for all your support. Like it really means a lot that these messages are getting out there in the world and that this momentum continues to build. Jordy.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty! Can't get enough Midas? Check out the Midas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.